After a 6-week break, the Champions League is back as we enter crunch time in the league phase now. Just 2 rounds of fixtures left as teams across the continent fight it out to progress through to the knockout stages. Arne Slot's men are in the south of France this evening, and a certain Egyptian, there he is, Mo Salah, is back in the starting lineup this evening. It is Marseille versus Liverpool in the orange Velodrome. Kickoff is 8 o'clock UK time. We will bring you live audio commentary of all the action here on LFC TV and All Red Video as well. Yeah, welcome along to tonight's Matchday Live. Lots to come here in the studio between now and 8 o'clock. Former Reds Gary Gillespie and Jason McAteer here, and European football expert Kev Hatchard joins us tonight as well. First though, let's cross over to the south of France pitch side. Mark Benstead has details of the Liverpool team. Mark.
Evening, Becky. Liverpool returned to this city for the first time since 2008. Steven Gerrard was the hero on that occasion with a couple of goals in a 2-1 victory. In fact, the Reds have a pretty good record here overall. They won 2 of the 3 visits, so a lot of fans who've made the trip this time round will have fond memories of coming here. The Reds boss Arne Slot will also have happy memories of this stadium. 4 years ago, his final side battled to a goalless draw here against Marseille to book their place in the Conference League final. In here and now, though, his current team, Liverpool, need just 1 more point from their remaining 2 fixtures to guarantee their place in the knockout stages of the Champions League. That said, that is not the main priority. The main goal is to try and secure a top 8 finish, of course, and try and declutter their fixture list in the coming weeks. In terms of team news for tonight, well, the side shows 3 alterations to that lined up against Burnley at the weekend. You mentioned that Mohamed Salah returns. He is available again for the manager. One player he's without tonight is Ibou Konate. He is in France, but he is dealing with a family matter, so unavailable for selection here tonight. The team in full then is as follows. It's Alisson Becker in goal. The back four looks like it'll be Jeremy Frimpong and Milos Kerkez staying as the 2 full-backs. Virgil van Dijk will play at centre-half, captaining the side on what will be his 350th game for the football club. Alongside him this evening, Joe Gomez. Gomez did play in Milan in our last Champions League outing. That was at right-back, though. His last Champions League game starting at centre-back, well, that was in Girona in December 2024. Ryan Gravenberch and Alexis McAllister will be the 2 central sitters in midfield. Florian Wirtz off the left, Dominic Szoboszlai centrally, and off the right, Mohamed Salah is back after frustration at AFCON, but he needs just 2 goals to become the first African to score 50 in the Champions League. Up top, Hugo Ekitike continues to strike. He has 12 goals this season, just 1 has come in Europe. On the bench, Mamashvili and Woodman are the sub-goalkeepers, then Endo, Chiesa and Jones. Jones 1 yellow away from a ban against Karabag next week. Gakpo, Robertson, Nayoni and Ungamoa. OK, we will return to you guys in the studio very shortly, but first, let's get the thoughts of the Reds boss, Arne Slot. I caught up with him a little earlier. The weekend game was one of those frustrating results, but there was a lot to like about the performance in there. Does that make it easier for you as a coach to do the analysis afterwards and to prepare the team for the next game, or is the frustration just as bad because it's result dependent?
No, if it comes to frustration, I am, fans, players, me, are getting more and more used to that frustration, but it's every time a different frustration. So we've been frustrated after very good performances, like against Arsenal. And then in the 90th minute, we have a big injury, which frustrates us all a lot. Same has happened to Alexander-Arnold, where he scored an important goal against Tottenham. We thought, OK, now this kickstarts his season, and then he's out for 3 months. We've had moments where we went 3-2 up in extra time twice, where you think this is going to help us, and then twice we've conceded afterwards. And this time was another frustration where I think since I'm here for 1.5 years now, this was our best performance against the low block. 75 ball possession. That doesn't make it positive because that's what we had against more teams, but 32 shots. There's not one team this season in the Premier League that had so many shots, creating so many chances. 3 times ball cleared off the line, missed a penalty. I couldn't have asked for more from the players in terms of performance, but the result is far from acceptable for a Liverpool team, and that's not for the first time. But like I said, there was what you said, and I agree with you. Although I'm not sure if everyone agrees with you, but I completely agree with you if you say there was a lot to like, because there were again individual performances that were much better than the start of the season. So a lot of positives, except for one thing, the results, and people judge everyone, but especially the manager, on a result, and that's fair.
If there's one thing to learn from the game at the weekend, is it not to have those moments in games that give the opposition an incentive? You know, there was a little drop-off maybe at the start of the second half, and they get up from that.
No, that's completely true. I saw the same during the game. I saw the same when I watched the game back. But probably one of the biggest things we have to improve, that probably we dominated almost any game. Maybe 2 or 3 exceptions to that. So City, Arsenal was a bit more minutes, but there are only 10, 15 games where the other team has a little bit of a go at us. So it's not that in that 10, 15 minutes time we didn't create. I think there were 2 balls cleared off the line in those 10 to 15 minutes by them, but they were also part of the game, where for the other 75 it's only ours. And always in those 15 minutes teams score against us. Not because that's their 5th chance, because their 1st chance. So what we did really well, I think, after a period of time where we created but conceded a bit too much, we started now in the last 12 games, we don't concede hardly any chance anymore. But sometimes we struggle to create. In the last game we created a lot. Now the good thing is a player comes back that is able to score a lot of goals for us, and that's Mo Salah, and I'm very pleased by that. Because for the whole season I had only 2 wingers available. And with Mo being at the AFCON, 1 winger, when I'm talking about more than 100 Premier League minutes played. And that's Cody Gakpo, of course. So many times I had to play players in a position where they can play, because Jeremy Frimpong can play as a right winger, Florian Wirtz can play as a left winger. And they're good in those positions, by the way, as well. But different types than Cody and Mo.
Another good thing is that Marseille won't sit back in a low block. They have plenty of attacking threats. They'll come out more, but that presents different challenges. How do you prepare for the real attacking potency they've got?
Yeah, you're completely right. They are usually a team that wants to have a ball a lot as well, like us, and very good ideas on and also off the ball, but definitely also on the ball. So yeah, a completely different challenge. But to be honest, in the first half where Burnley only played the long ball, I think we completely dominated it. And in the second half, where especially in the first 15 minutes after halftime, they tried to bring the ball a little bit more out from the back. That was the period of time where it was their best period. So yeah, it's not always when the team brings the ball out from back that's in our favour, as it was shown against Burnley. So we have to be really good pressing-wise to keep them away from our goal. And yeah, we will prepare the players for that scenario.
I know the target is to get top 8, but 1 point secures you knockout football. Is that the immediate goal, to secure that and then see what happens?
I think, but I'm not sure that probably knockout is already secured if you look at all the teams that are playing against each other, but that's not important. I think the main thing for us is, if you look at the depth of our squad, that is vital for us not to go to that playoff round, because we've already played 6 or 7 months where a lot of players have played minutes, because we have 3 big injuries, players that are out for a long time. That means you have to overload certain players as well. That's why I am so positive about these players, the effort they put in to stay fit, which is not so simple if you have to play every single game. And after this game, 2 days later, with travelling in between, we have to play Bournemouth, which is probably one of the most intense teams in the league. And it's almost every time the same players. So for them, and if it's good for them, it's good for the club. It would be really helpful not to have to play that playoff round, but the team that won it last season had to play the playoff round. So in both scenarios, we bring out the positives, but it's clear and obvious that for us it would be really helpful to skip that playoff round. But not easy, because we play Marseille.
Best of luck for the game.
Thank you.
Yeah, the thoughts of Arne Slot speaking in the orange Velodrome. Before we get into the chat with the lads in the studio, just to let you know, 2 changes for Marseille tonight. In come Pavard and Kondogbia after their 5-2 win at the weekend. Mark Benstead will have all the news from Marseille in just a moment on their team. But let's talk about the Liverpool team, Gary, because obviously the headline is Mo Salah is back. That was the big debate, whether he would start so soon after returning from AFCON. He does, and probably not a surprise, I don't think.
Well, I think when you look at the games that we've played and the points that we've dropped by getting the draws, you look at these games and maybe think, well, a Mohamed Salah in that starting 11 or a Mohamed Salah even to come off the bench with his goal-scoring record and his ability to create chances as well for other players, we might have picked up a few more points than maybe what we have done already in the league games. So I don't think it's a surprise. There was always going to be a big question about that because obviously with like the euphoria that like when he left to go to the AFCON, but that seems to have been smoothed over now, and hopefully we can get back to just playing football and hopefully see the best of Mohamed Salah for the rest of the season. And if we get the best of the Mohamed Salah for the rest of the season, well, who knows where that can take Liverpool.
Yeah, there's various games within this long unbeaten run now, we have to say, 12 games. But you're looking at the likes of Burnley very recently, Leeds as well, where you feel like there's been a bit of a lack of a cutting edge at times, and he obviously will provide that, Jason.
Maybe had he started, it might have been different, or even coming off the bench, you know, he might have made the difference of 1 point being 3 points. I agree with Gary. Listen, he left under a cloud of controversy, didn't he? But probably the time away at the AFCON is give that just time to settle. He comes back in a different light. It's a welcome return. Had Conor Bradley been fit and Jermaine with Frimpong's form as well, you know, playing further up the pitch, it might have been a different sort of mindset from the manager. He might not have gone with Mo Salah, but tonight it looks like Frimpong's going to play right back and Mo Salah's going to slot in on the right hand side.
It's a mental boost as much as anything, I suppose, having the likes of Mo Salah come straight back in as well, Kev.
Yeah, absolutely, because he's a hugely experienced player. He's a proven performer at this level. You look at his Champions League record, it's exceptional. And they know they're playing a Marseille team where they're going to get chances, because Marseille don't die wondering. They're going to give it a go. They're going to commit men forwards, and they do leave gaps at the back. So you would think Liverpool will generate chances, and he's the most likely to take them.
He is indeed. Let's have a look at how things stand in the Champions League table at the moment. And the good news is that other results last night mean that Liverpool are now guaranteed a place in the playoff rounds at least. But of course, ideally, you want to finish in those top 8 to go straight into the last 16 without needing those 2 extra games in February. To do so, it might need either 4, maybe even 6 points, Gary, from the remaining 2 games. Of course, it's Qarabag at home next week. How do you assess Liverpool's chances at this stage?
Well, it's very doable. I think when you look at Marseille, I think when the draw was made, I think we touched on this the last time we had a Champions League game, albeit it was 6 weeks ago or something like that. We were saying that Liverpool's like away fixtures have been really, really difficult places to go. Maybe the teams haven't been exactly like top grade, but very difficult places to play. You think of Galatasaray, Frankfurt, certainly here tonight against Marseille as well. And you go to like the San Siro to play Inter Milan. Very, very difficult fixtures. And Liverpool have like done well. They're kind of like they've done reasonably well like with the fixtures so far. It'll be a test again tonight, but if they can get the result, puts them in a great position to finish in that top 8. I watched the games last night. You look at Real Madrid, like comfortable victors on the night. They were sitting more or less the same points as us. So it just shows you where we can go. Arsenal, well, we were there last season, weren't we? Like the first 7 games, like we won the first 7 games. Then all of a sudden you lose the last one. You get drawn against Paris Saint-Germain in the knockout stages, and you're out of the competition. So it can happen. But no, I think we're in a very strong position, and especially having the last game at home against Qarabag. I mean, not a lot of people know a lot about Qarabag, but what there'll be a difficult opposition again. Any team that's playing in the Champions League, I think, gives you you face problems playing any team. So hopefully we can get a job done here tonight. And we've seen in the past that Liverpool, probably on their travels away in Europe, are probably they've played pretty well. So I'm pretty confident tonight that we'll get a result.
Yeah, Marseille, it's a tough place to go, isn't it, Kev? But in terms of their chances of progression, they're not in quite as strong a position as Liverpool. They've got 9 points. Their final game is Club Brugge away. So you would think they would need, if they're harbouring hopes of top 8, to win both of these, and maybe even that might not be enough.
Yeah, but I think Zerbi sees this as a good yardstick. How far have Marseille come? Can they compete with the top teams? If you look at their games against PSG, they were able to win at home to PSG in the league. That was the first time they'd done that in ages in Ligue 1. They pushed them all the way in the Trophée des Champions, lost on penalties in the end. But I think he's looking at this as, where are we at really? He's been there a while now and he wants that consistency. If you look at the points, from Liverpool's point of view, 16 was enough to get you in that top 8 last season. That's 4 away. So a point here and then maybe 3 at home to Karabakh, although I know they're a decent team, but that might just be enough.
Yeah, probably more decent than people gave Karabakh credit for, I think, before this Champions League started. Let's just have a look at the Opta Supercomputer's predictions. This is before this week's round of fixtures, we should say. So this is before last night's game took place. So they predicted Liverpool having a just over 63% chance of finishing in the top 8. But Man City there, just shy of 90%. Gary Opta would never have predicted that result last night, so anything can happen.
Well, I was about to say football's played on grass, but it wasn't last night for Manchester City, was it? It was played on AstroTurf. Listen, it's a cup competition. Anything can happen. We've seen it umpteen times. And yes, like Opta, they like to predict things, but I mean, does it mean anything? No, not to me. It doesn't. To be fair.
I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
I think the flaws come up in the Champions League in the sense that the teams that previously you would look at and think, well, we're at home to them, we're going to roll these over. I don't think that's quite as true anymore. If you look at a team like Werder Glimt, who beat Man City last night, that's a team that's been building and building and building. A few years ago, they'd never won the league. They were in the second tier of Norwegian football. Yeah. But they've been on a great run. They hammered Roma 6-1 in the Conference League. They've beaten Lazio, they've beaten Porto. That's been coming. That kind of result against a big hitter like City has been coming for a while. So I think the kind of teams that you could roll over before got to work a lot harder now.
Yeah, they fully deserved that result, didn't they? Back to the Liverpool team tonight. Gary has spoken about Mo Salah, but at centre-back, no Ibou Konate, of course, for family reasons. He's in France at the moment with his family. So Joe Gomez comes in. Seems that the obvious choice.
Well, I don't think there's any other choice.
Maybe the only choice.
I mean, I think
I'm still waiting for the call. I can play the.
Well, now we know we're
15 minutes I've got.
Good 10 minutes
15
he's gone
each.
for.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
That wouldn't last 15. I think we could have played Andy Robertson could have maybe come into the equation, but I mean, it makes logical sense that you play Joe Gomez in there. It's not so long ago that Joe Gomez was playing alongside Virgil van Dijk, and we thought that was going to be a partnership for time immemorial at Liverpool. They were that good, and the performances of Joe Gomez were exceptional. Obviously his career has been blighted through injury, whether he's played at right full back or whether he's played at centre back, but I don't think it's just I think it's a given that he'll play there, and I don't see any problem. Like, he's played there often enough, and he's played alongside Virgil van Dijk often enough to understand and appreciate exactly what's expected of.
I think the big concern is obviously he's coming in, starting the game. You know, I think the manager might have liked to have maybe brought him in maybe for the last 20 just to settle him in, Joe Gomez. But fingers crossed he stays fit and can last the 90 minutes, because we are thin in that area.
Yeah, he played at 6 minutes of the FA Cup game against Barnsley, didn't he? But let's have a look at the draw at the weekend with Burnley. Liverpool now 12 unbeaten, as we said. That is the positive. Maybe the less positive slant, Jace, is during that run there have been performances that maybe you would have wanted a little bit more from, and this probably falls into that category.
Yeah, it's been quite an underwhelming 12-game run without a defeat, hasn't it? You know, only really the Arsenal game you could look at as being a really big highlight within that. But there are games that we should have taken maximum points and could have been in a healthier position in the league, but it wasn't to be. Saturday, listen, it was a different performance. There was more energy, there was more determination with trying to open them up. We know they're struggling with a low block and teams that get a lot of defenders in the box and stifle them, but You know, Liverpool did enough to win the game. On another day, it would have been a different result. You know, they created, 32 chances. The stats actually didn't do them a favour. If you'd have just looked at them stats without watching the game or knowing the result, you would have said Liverpool would have won easy, but it obviously wasn't.
It's a bit ironic, really, when you think about it. Like Florian Wirtz, as much as like he was underlined at the beginning of the season how good he was going to be, he struggled at the start, but then all of a sudden, like, what is it, four goals in the last 6 games, and we're talking about Liverpool struggling to score goals and struggling to go when they're going forward. So it's ironic that he really has been like the standout player in the last 4 or 5, maybe even half a dozen games.
OK, thanks, lads. We're going to get the full details on the Marseille starting 11 now. Rejoin our man on the ground in the south of France, Mark Benstead.
Thank you, Becky. It's a big week for Marseille. They need points here tonight to try and force their way into the top 8 in the Champions League. But at the weekend, they take on the league leaders, Lens, as well. And they are currently 8 points off the pace in Ligue 1. So work to do there and plenty to juggle for their manager, Zerbi. They do sit 3rd in Ligue 1 at the moment, but they are the top scorers domestically in France, and that is the real threat from this team. They scored 14 goals in the last 2 matches. One of those was a cup game against a part-time team from the 6th tier, but don't let that take anything away from their scoring prowess. This team has goals in it, and throughout the squad, it has to be said. In terms of their team tonight, as you mentioned, a couple of changes from that weekend win against Angers by 5 goals to 2. The lineup as follows then, changes in personnel, a change in formation as well as they return to 4 at the back. The Argentinian Geronimo Rulli will continue in goal. Facundo Medina will operate in left back, it looks like, tonight, with Emerson ruled out with a thigh injury. Amir Murillo will be at right back, the Panama international. Leonardo Balerdi and Benjamin Pavard will be the 2 centre-backs. Both centre-backs are 1 yellow away from a ban. Hamid Traore is perhaps the surprise inclusion tonight. He retains his place from the weekend. He's on loan from Bournemouth. This is his first Champions League appearance for Marseille. Jeffrey Kondogbia, the well-travelled defensive midfielder, formerly of Monaco, Inter, Atletico, etc., will operate centrally alongside Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. Timothy Weah, son of the great George Weah, will operate on the right wing. Up top, as I mentioned, the real strength of this side. They have Amin Guri, who will play through the middle. Such a talent, so much potential in him. His season has been hindered by a shoulder injury, but he is back now, having missed AFCON, looking to add to his 2 goals this season. Then alongside him, Mason Greenwood, 16 goals this season, the highest scorer in Ligue 1 with 12. He has 9 in his last 7 appearances. On the bench, Jeffrey Delanga is the sub-goalkeeper, then it's Van Neck, CJ Egan-Riley, Angel Gomez, the England international, Arthur Vermeeren, Bilal Nadir, Dara Bakola, Amos Dougal, Matt O'Reilly, formerly of Brighton, Igor Pochau, who played under Arne Slot at Feyenoord and has 4 goals in the Champions League this season, Tajuddin Mahdi and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Remember him, 8 goals across the campaign so far. As I mentioned, plenty for Marseille to deal with this week across a couple of competitions. But the Champions League, a big goal for them. 2012, the last time that they made it through to the knockout stages.
Yeah, there's quite a few familiar names that people might recognise in that Marseille squad. We'll go into detail in terms of individuals a little bit later on. But Kev, in terms of how they're likely to set up tonight, what can we expect from them?
Yeah, I think what you'll see is they'll look to draw Liverpool onto them and either play through or play over. That's what Zerbi did a lot at Brighton. Lots of fast transitions. When they attack in numbers. Little bit surprised that they've gone with Traore over Paixão on that left-hand side, because Paixão has been exceptional in this tournament. But that central midfield area is so important as well, because if they can't necessarily play through or over the press, they're looking for those little combinations in midfield to try and get them up the pitch. But always looking to affect the game, always looking to attack. A Zerbi team always has either goals for or goals against. There are not many 0-0s knocking around when he's about.
Yeah, well, let's speak about him, because he joined them 18 months ago now.
Yeah.
It was about a month after he left Brighton, wasn't he? So how's he viewed in France, and is he liked by the fan base?
Oh, the fan base love him. He's perfect for Marseille because they want passion, they want commitment, and they've absolutely had that. But he is box office. He will say every so often, look, if you don't want to follow my football, I'm gone. He's threatened to go about 4 times. But they know that he's committed to the cause, and he is a guy that wants things his way. And what I always think about him, we talk about philosophies with managers, right? And sometimes you look at a manager and think, well, how do they play, really? You know his teams immediately. Like, you look at the way they played at the Bernabeu against Real Madrid, it's just Zerbi football. Like, he's happy to take risks. He's happy to bring one of the best attacking units onto him and try and play through it. So, excellent manager, one of the best around, I think. But what's interesting about them is there's always a story. 2 of their players got sold in the summer because they had a fight in the dressing room, Rabiot and Jonathan Rowe, and they got moved on. So it just kind of shows you there's usually drama, there's usually something going on at Marseille, but in general, direction of travel's very good.
In terms of De Zerbi himself, he's a colourful character, Jace. We saw that from his time at Brighton in the Premier League. What's your thoughts on him?
I think he's a really, really good coach. I think with Manchester United looking for a manager at the end of the season, he might be a really good fit for them. I do sense there's a bit of frustration just creeping in at his time at Marseille. He's been there, in his 2nd season now, done really well. Obviously, it was 2nd place finish.
Sorry, you said he'd been there quite a while, 18 months.
Yeah, for a manager, that's quite a while. Yeah, you're right. So I just feel like he's got a really good relationship with the sporting director, hasn't he?
Mehdi Benatia,
yeah, and they work wonders. But the problem with it is, you've got teams in the Premier League who can go into these leagues now, into the France, into Spain, and they can just take the best players, can't they? And I think there's a young striker just left in this transfer window, and that's frustrated him. He's come out and said if the sporting director goes, because he's starting to get frustrated, he's going to go. So it's just, I don't know, it's got a feel of Brighton about it, where he's just had enough of it, and he might just, end of the season, be picked.
He's had a lot of clubs, hasn't he?
Yeah, and he's super demanding of the players. He's super demanding of everybody who's above him in the structure. He gets on really well, as you say, with Mehdi Benatia, the sporting director, Pablo Longoria, who's the president. He's not short of a quote now and then either. So, there's passion running all the way through the club, but it is just keeping it on an even keel. But I think as long as he feels there's forward progress, and he was annoyed about Robinho Vaz going because he'd only really just got in the team. But Marseille, like a lot of clubs in France, because of the TV deal falling through and because of lots of different frustrations financially, if you get a big offer for a player, you really have to consider it.
But will that frustrate him? No. My point being, end of the season, because he wants to build something. We've seen it at Brighton where he gets so far, and you're only ever going to get so far at Brighton because other teams are going to come and take your best players, and that is their model. It seems to be the same at Marseille. Will he get frustrated? And
I think he will.
Would United? Do you think?
Possibly, but then he goes into that structure and there are frustrations there, as we've seen, so he'd want certain assurances. But I think you're right. I think his future's tied to Mehdi Benatia, maybe Pablo Longoria as well. I think if those guys were to go, he would really start to think about it.
Well, he faced Liverpool 5 times while he was Brighton manager, and he did quite well. Take a look at this. This is his record. Not Liverpool out of the FA Cup back in 22-23. Took points off the Reds in 3 of 4 Premier League games as well. Both of those wins came when Liverpool were in a really dreadful run of form back in January 2023. I mean, there are some really nice quotes actually from Alexis McAllister, who played 34 games under De Zerbi at Brighton. He says he was actually the best manager he's ever had so far. He says he is a crazy, crazy guy. He's Italian. I love him. The passion he gives for football is special. His tactical side, absolutely amazing. He makes you feel good. I mean, he's a manager, as we said, not scared to be outspoken, but it seems that the players really enjoy playing for him.
Yeah, and I think it's the emotion that he gives as well. I mean, he's been quoted as saying he cried, didn't he, after the penalty shootout against Paris. He said, I've never cried after a game, but I actually cried at Paris. But you could see he's demanding of his players, and I think you get honesty with that. I think there's quite a lot of managers who tend not to say a lot in the dressing room, where he would hold players accountable. He would point the finger and question things, and I think it's a dying art in football now for a manager to be able to do that. You need total respect, and I think he gets that from his players. I really, really like him. He's got a touch of Simone about him. His man-managing skills are really well. But I think he's an astute manager. I think he sets his teams up. He thinks about the fixture. He thinks about his opponents.
Is there a big job in him, though?
I think he deserves one. I really do. I think he deserves a crack at it. It'd worry me if he went to United. It would worry me.
Yeah. He's got the tactical chops to do it. Absolutely.
Well, you look at his win percentage is only 43% win percentage.
But
look at where he's been.
Yeah, it's where
that's the thing.
Well, yeah, but yeah.
I think if you look at
Gary's not convinced.
if you look at the year and a half from Marseille,
I like 'em,
I think
yeah.
they've gone forward. I think Marseille, in terms of the style, have gone forward. In terms of the consistency, they've gone forward. They've beaten PSG, as I say, in the league. That's the first time that's happened for a long time. And I think he does, and this is really important for French clubs, as we've said, he makes players better. And what happens when that happens? Their value goes up and they can move them on.
All I'm going on is, what I'm saying is, like, in a modern day football era where, like, most things are judged by stats, his stats at 43% win rate is not like up there with like the best managers.
Yeah, but this is the argument, isn't it, with sporting directors? I mean, we've just said there. I've just been doing a 2-year course on it, and I agree with a lot of the stuff there. But there has to be an organic approach to some of the decisions that you make. It can't be just on stats and data. It can't. You have to have a look at what goes on through the personality.
Listen, I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit, because I like him. To be fair, I think he's a great. I'm with you, but I'm just thinking, I wouldn't be